Welcome back to the workshop. And I thought I hadn't really done much on camera for a little while because I hadn't really been thinking about it, and I'd just got on and done stuff because they were going to be little quick jobs which then escalated, so they took a bit longer and would have made good videos. But because I didn't anticipate them taking longer, I didn't expect to be in a position to make a good video from them. But I'm going to give you a little update on a couple of bits I've been doing. Now, there was a very good response to my video, which, if I remember, I'll put up around here somewhere, if I can work out how, link to that, of my track cleaning wagon. It normally lives at the club, but I've made a little bit of a change to it for a couple of reasons. Now, let me go through what I've changed. So first of all, I've changed the valves that were on the front for a couple of reasons. The first being these valves turned out to not be particularly good, and they don't quite seal off properly all of the time. So the main isolating valve I've changed for a ball valve, which can be turned quite easily from on to off in one swift movement. Now at some point I might extend the handle or do something fun with that to make it look fancy, but for now that will do the job. I've also added a little arrangement with mostly commercial bits, and they are then feeding commercial valves. So those valves then feed some smaller pipes, and I've put a bar across the bottom to hold the pipes. At some point they may end up being shortened, but we need to see how they operate on the track. So all of that, I think, looks a lot tidier than it did before. The only thing I'm thinking of doing before that goes back is I might take the hook off, drill a hole through the back, and then put a couple of links of chain and a shackle so it stays on there, through there, so it's always got a bit of chain on it that doesn't get lost. So that's the first change. So the reason for the 4 pipes, I should say, is you've got the 2 for the 5-inch rails on the outside, but we've now got the introduction of a pipe which drips on the 3.5 rail. But depending on which way round the wagon's facing, that 3.5 rail could be on either side of the track, hence 4 pipes. So you can just turn on the one that's relevant to the direction you're facing. Now they ended up a little bit close together. I did think about shortening the outside valve stems, but in the end I opted for angling the valves themselves so they were V'ing together and then splitting underneath to go out. So that's that change. Now, personally, I think the track cleaner works its best when it's cleaning lots of different wheels and there's lots of other stuff on the track, and you're relying on all the different wheels, churning it up, breaking down the grease, because that way it's breaking down what's on all of the wheels as well as what's on the rail and cleaning everything. That way it doesn't get dirty as quickly afterwards because everything's clean. If you just clean the track, as soon as you send a dirty trolley around, you've got dirty rail again. So that's where the 3.5 becomes a problem, because not much runs on the 3.5 unless you're going along in front of a 3.5 loco with the cleaner. It's not going to do much. So I've seen other clubs have done all sorts of things with wheels and cleaners, high pressure, or all sorts of stuff. But again, I prefer to be as simple and easy as possible. So what I've done, which I believe is a development of what another club's done. I think I remember seeing someone send me a picture, and I apologise if it was you and I can't remember who you were, of a length of carpet being dragged along behind the wagon. So let's take a little look and I'll show you what I've done. You have to excuse the emery, that's still there from another job. But as you can see, there is a piece of carpet hanging down underneath. Now, it is bolted to that frame stretcher there. It's bolted to this one facing down, so it's automatically being pushed down a little bit. Just hangs down, and I'm wondering if it's going to want a block or something sat inside one of these stretchers just to give it a little bit of tension, a little bit of weight. But it's not always there. If I don't want it running, I've attached it to a strap. I cut a little slot in the back of the carpet. You can see back there. And then when I don't want to use it, I can pull on that strap and it raises it up and it sits neatly, more or less, out of sight. So there we go. So when I'm going round, I can run it like this for a little while. I can then release the strap, let the thing drop down, which is where I think it could probably do with a block. If I cut a block of wood that size and the width of the between the frames, it would just add a little bit of weight all the way across and sit down. So that might be the next development, maybe in underneath one of these two. And then as you go down, you can be running around cleaning the 5-inch rail for a while, let that drop. You could be dropping the degreaser on the 3.5 as well. Let it run for a while and then lower the carpet, and then that will also mop up all of the fluid, all the dirty fluid that's laying on the rail further back. So that's what I've been doing to that. The only thing I've got left to do to that wagon, if I can find the bits, they were sitting on the trolley here. Some of these dummy axle box covers have come off. Now, although they are dummy, they do hold a purpose because I've drilled an oil hole in top and they're counterbored inside, so that oils the bearings. At the moment, the oil can come out quite easily, so that provides a little reservoir for the oil. So they want gluing back on, and I've ordered some JB Weld to do that with. So that's that. Now, as I mentioned about that valve, I used another 2 of those valves when I built my 5-inch Jinty. One I used as a bypass valve because I had it to hand, and I really wish I hadn't, because I think that might be one of my reasons for the bypass not always working quite as well as it should. If that's not seating properly, it's just going to be oozing back to the tank. But because I used that, to try and change it is a bit of a ball ache. So what I've done has then caused me more problems. Let's take a look. So I took the bunker off the engine, and you can see where the 2 valves were sitting. This one is a drain for the tank, so that's all it does. It drains the tank at the end of the day. Or if I'm using one of my driving trolleys, my ground level driving trolley, or indeed that wagon was set up to do it as well. It's got a water tank in it, and I fitted it with, you can just about see under there's a pump underneath, a battery and a switch. The battery dropped in that slot there, but hasn't been used for a while. So the idea was you could top up the tanks by flicking the switch and using the pump to top up the tanks. Now my driving trolley has just got a tank which comes to about the same level and a balance pipe, so it would just balance with the wagon. Or I could top it up. I think it had a pump underneath it as well, so you could either top up the tanks or try and bypass it. So that's why there was 2 valves, and as I did with the track cleaner, I have replaced this one with a ball valve, which hopefully won't be too tight, because when you first use them, they're a little bit stiff, and obviously there you've got quite a bit of leverage from the wing, but I'm only going to have the little handle that goes back on top. but by using another commercial fitting, it kept it in pretty much the same spot, and it goes through the same hole in the running board. But I had to extend the handle up as well. Where that sits on the valve, there's a flat either side of a thread. I think it was an M5 thread. So I turned this bit of brass, it went down on the M5, and a grub screw goes onto that flat. And then at the top I tapped it M4 as it had been before, because that was an M4 that went into the top of this valve anyway. That was a locking nut. I have done the locking nut up, but also another grub screw to stop that coming undone. So that is ready to go back on the engine. Now, another problem. I went to put it back on the engine, and this is what I am going to show you about. I put it back on the engine, and in the bottom of the tank there's a brass block soldered to the tank, which is threaded. But on this side, when I did it up, it spun and it's come loose. So I need to do something about that. The tank is entirely sealed, as you can see from above, all soldered together, no way in. So what I'm going to do is, with a hole saw, cut a hole in the top, and then I'll cut a plate to seal that hole once I'm done. Because once I've cut the hole, I can then do something to get hold of the plug, hold it back on the hole and resolder it. So that's my plan for today, and hopefully we can get this thing back together. So I have the piece that's come out, which came out of that hole there. Managed to get it out. There's something else that wants fixing at some point. I spun it in the lathe. I've just cleaned up with a piece of emery the face there, put a little bit more of a chamfer on this, and a bit more chamfer on there, and hopefully we can get that soldered back on. The difficult bit is going to be cleaning the base in there. So I had no idea if this was going to work, but I taped a piece of emery to the end of a bit of bar, which I put in the drill. It's not great tape, so it has been able to slide down, which meant I could keep using different bits of tape. And it's got the bit I need cleanish. Should be clean enough to take solder. So now we just need to worry about how we're going to get that in there, held tight, warmed up, soldered, and ready to go again. So what I'm going to do, or what I've already done actually, while it was in the lathe, I increased the length of this sticking through. So hopefully we end up with a little bit of a bit sticking out, which will make a bit of a fillet on this side as well, which we can hide on the engine and make fit. But yeah, we'll just get it in there, get it in, attached to, or screwed onto this bolt. That way we can hold it from the other side and make sure it stays where it wants to be. So we've got it inside, in the right place, with some fluxite around it, and you can see it from underneath as well. Now hopefully we can get this soldered on without disturbing the paint. If we don't, we'll have to deal with that as well. So looking through my drawer of bits, I found this bit of brass already cut with a hole in the middle, oval shape, and I thought I know exactly what I can do with that. So I countersunk the hole in the middle for a bolt. I've soldered a block on the back, drilled and tapped this little crossbar. The block on the back is to stop that turning, and we have ourselves a strong back. So that, now the blocks centre, that goes in there like that. tighten up the screw in the middle, it pulls the bar up the back, which grips on the bottom of the underside of the top plate, and we have a seal. We just need to put some sort of sealant on it when it goes together. So, bar putting some sealant on and actually sealing it down, which will probably just be a smear of silicone or something like that. That's done. Easily removable, easily take offable. Hopefully it will never come off again. And hopefully if it does need to come off again, it's not because I need to do the same to the other side. So that's ready to go back on the engine. We can look at that next time. Hopefully, well, I won't show you putting it back together because that's going to involve lots of swearing and messing around, but it'll go back on, go back together, and we can have a look at it running next time, and hopefully that pump will work a lot better. So thanks for watching. I hope that's been of interest. As always, please do like, share, subscribe, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. Just let me know if you'd have done something differently, if you think I've done something you'd never thought of doing. Sharing ideas keeps it going. So I will see you soon. Take care.